Hi everyone, my name is Matthew and I am riding my bike to work. So I thought I would just create this video and show you the majority of my trip on my BMW F800ST motorbike, and doing a bit of lane filtering and a bit of edge filtering. So at the moment I am leaving the suburb that I live in and I'm heading onto the motorway, and I'm going through a couple of roundabouts in the process, and in all cases I am not stopping at all. I'm managing to ride slowly enough to just keep going and not have to put my foot down. So that was a main roundabout in Brisbane, and we're now heading up to a second roundabout, and as you can see I've positioned myself in the right hand side of the lane, and this is where I generally spend most of my time on my motorbike, is in the right wheel track. That gives me visibility for the driver in looking at his rear vision mirror, and gives me the option of going around a vehicle if I need to for any hazards. So here we are coming up to the next roundabout, and luckily I don't have any cars in front of me in this lane for some reason, so I'm just being able to pace it, wait for these cars to go through, keeping the bike in second gear and just going through the roundabout to the other side. Now here I am entering in the last roundabout before getting onto the motorway, and again I've been able to avoid stopping, keeping it in second gear, going into the roundabout and then exiting. Now that I'm in the roundabout, I can accelerate to get onto the motorway. I'm now getting up to speed. It's 110, actually it's just finished 110, it's now becoming 100. So I'm just waiting for this solid line to disappear so I can merge into the next lane, and I suspect that the truck in front of me is planning to move into my lane. I now do a shoulder check and try and get over to the outside lane, or the far right lane, which is where I spend most of my trip on my commute in through the city. So I'm now in my preferred lane and coming up to some speed cameras, so checking to make sure my speed is no faster than 100, and then continuing on through until I hit some congestion, which I hit up Shaler Park shortly. Meanwhile, there I am in the right wheel track, checking my mirrors, heading to work. Okay, now I'm starting to hit some congestion. In fact, hitting it a bit earlier than normal this day. This is a Wednesday, and here I am going into the shoulder, the outside shoulder. And the law in Queensland is that you can't go more than 30 kilometres an hour when lane filtering and edge filtering. So most motorbikes I find do 40 and above. So when I see one coming, I generally scoot over. But at the moment I'm just constantly checking my speed to make sure I'm not going over 30. I've got the bike in second gear for this, and I can see now that the traffic is going the same speed as me, so I'm now merging back into the traffic, and at this point, if the traffic goes faster than 30, which it was starting to do, I'm benefiting. So I now stay in this lane until more congestion happens, which is, you can see it's just happened now, and so off I go again, checking my speed, making sure I'm not doing more than 30, But traffic's picked up again, so I merge back in. Okay, now we are again hitting some congestion. I do have some space next to me, so I will use that lane. That's my preference to doing lane filtering, is to filter along the edge. Again, ensuring that I'm only doing 30 kilometers an hour. And now the traffic's picking up again, so I have a choice to either merge back in or keep going, but I can also see cars stopping ahead. So what do? I continue on by the looks of it. Checking my speed, 24 kilometers an hour, so I'll stay in this lane and continue to do some edge filtering. And while there's an edge on the side of the road, that is my preference. It just means I'm not interfering with any cars, not that I do anyway, but it means that people aren't too concerned about me cutting between them when they see me on the side. It's kind of like a dedicated bike lane, if you like. The only issue is that it's not always this wide, and it's not always even there. So when that's the case, that's when you are forced to do some lane filtering, which you'll see shortly. Oh, I've now gotten past the congestion, and I'm now heading into the city, but with the sun out in the east, because it's just early morning, I just do a quick check to see what my my posture is. And so looking here, I can see I'm in a weird position, but that's how I ride. Okay, so now the traffic's slowing back down again, and this time there isn't really much edge for me to use, so this is where I now switch over to doing some lane filtering. So I've positioned myself where the driver can see me. I'm waiting for a gap to appear, or I guess an opportunity to go through, and now here I am filtering through the lanes. And as you can see, it's a fairly wide gap. It's not... And some drivers, when they see me coming, and I'm sure I surprise half of them, tend to move over a bit, so that's good. And when the traffic's picking up speed again, I just stay in the lane until you can see the brake lights. I'm seeing brake lights ahead of me. So at that point, I just go back in and continue filtering, making sure I don't hit anyone's mirrors. But the gap here between these cars is fairly good. The other thing I try and look out for is trucks and buses, because they take up much more of the lane width, and so I either have to judge the gap or stay behind them until there is a gap, or until the cars in the lane next go past. Anyway, so yeah, lane filtering. It's legal in Queensland, and as long as I don't do above 30 kilometres an hour, I am not constricted or restricted to what speed the traffic's going. Of course, if the traffic's going more than 30 k's an hour, it makes no sense. Okay, now I'm almost into the city now, and there's a truck next to me, as I was talking about before. And yeah, the traffic seems to, like right now, it's going above 30. It seems to just stop and start and stop and start. It's not consistent. But what's coming up now, off to the right here, you can see is the exit lane for the Clem 7 tunnel. And just beyond this exit is some more edge that I can use for edge filtering. So even though the traffic's all banked up here now, once I clear these painted traffic island lines, you'll see that there is an edge for me to use on the shoulder there. So I'll wait till the cars slow down, which they're just about to do now. I check my mirrors, something I do constantly. And particularly I'm looking to see if there's any motorbikes coming, because a lot of motorbikes will use this shoulder here. There isn't, so off I go. And again, I'm making sure I don't exceed 30 kilometers an hour, which is why I keep looking at my phone. I'll keep checking my mirrors because, as I said, there could be a motorbike coming up from behind, because most motorcyclists don't keep the 30-kilometre rule and generally do 40 to 45. The traffic's picking up, so I'm now going to decide, do I merge in or keep going? You can see a guy on the left here doing some lane filtering, and obviously going more than 30 kilometres an hour, because that's what I'm doing. So it's frustrating sometimes, because you feel like everyone else is doing it, I should do it, but I don't want to be that one guy that gets pulled over and fined for breaking the rules. Now, as you can see here, that it's got quite wide, and I noticed the motorbike was behind me, so I've moved right over and let him go past. Because again, not keeping the 30-kilometre limit, but that seems to be par for the course. Now, normally what I would do, particularly when the edge isn't so wide, the shoulder is a smaller shoulder, I will merge back in with the traffic and let the bike go past. But in this case, it was quite wide, and so I was able just to move over and let him pass. And we're now coming up to the river, and this shoulder goes from 90 kilometres per hour down to, the whole road goes down to 80 kilometres an hour, and so we're not supposed to do any edge filtering when the speed limit is below 90. So I have moved over. Oh, in this case I moved over specifically because there's another motorbike coming behind me. But as you can see, well, maybe you can't see, but just up ahead is the 80 kilometres an hour sign. So now, instead of getting back into the shoulder, I'm now going to go back and do some lane filtering. And at this point on the motorway, it ends just shortly here, and the road becomes slightly narrower, and the lanes become narrower. So it's still sufficient for doing lane filtering, but as we go under this overpass, you kind of have to use some judgment to whether or not you do any, because the lanes just become a bit too narrow. And the traffic at the moment is going at a comfortable speed, so I'm happy just to go with the flow of the traffic rather than risk hitting anyone. Now, we've now crossed the river, and I'm now merging over to the far left lane. I'm just waiting for this off-ramp to disappear, which it now has. I'm now picking up speed. I'll change lanes in front of this white car and speed up to 70 kilometres an hour, which is what the speed limit is here. Once I've reached it, I'll just stay on it. And now entering what's called Coronation Drive. Alright, so entering Coronation Drive, and the traffic lights are red. This car's stopped in front of me, but I'm on a motorbike, so I will... Now it's two lanes, I can filter between them. So I filter and go to the front of the line and just wait for the lights to turn green. So if it was a turning lane and a single lane, I can't filter. But this is two lanes, I'm allowed to filter. Lights turn green, and off I go. Just checking my mirrors to see if there's any disgruntled drivers behind me trying to keep up with me, but all good. That does happen from time to time. Okay, hitting some congestion, but the traffic lights are green, so I'll just stay behind them. Okay, red traffic lights ahead. So again, there's a nice gap there. I'll just come through and filter through to the front. And just wait for the light to turn green. There it goes. And then my turn off is right here. And again, no cars in front of me, so I get to go all the way to the front. Now while I'm here, these are long set of lights, so I've edited it, but another motorcyclist comes up and behind me and joins me on the takeoff. So the lights are now green. I take off and the other guy's right next to me. He then zips past me. And then we approach these lights here, and a third motorcyclist comes through the lights, and there's three of us all heading in the same direction. There he goes, that's bike number 3. He's got both legs on the ground. I tend to just put my left leg on the ground. So off he goes, and we now have another red light in front of us, and he's about to lane filter so he can get to the front, but it turns green just as he gets there, so it now becomes the three of us. I change lanes, 3 of us all going in the same direction. We're just going to turn left under this railway bridge, just past it. Now you might hear my voice in the background. I was trying to record some audio, but you can't really hear it. The microphone on the GoPro is on the outside. So anyway, that basically is my commute to work. Now up ahead we've got underground parking, on-roof parking, and one of the motorcyclists goes off to the right. So again, I avoid stopping. I don't like stopping. He goes to the right, he goes to the left, and then I go up the on-ramp. Now, I've got this guy in front of me that doesn't know what he's doing, doesn't know where he's going, stopping, starting, but again, between here and when I park, I never put my foot down. I just keep the bike in low revs, using the back brake, avoiding the clutch if possible, although I'm using it a bit there. Yep, going through, and now we've got this this corkscrew of a circuit to get to the roof, and I'm hoping this guy peels off and parks somewhere, but no, unfortunately he doesn't stay in his lane and slowly inches his way up to the top. But again, I'm just keeping a constant speed. I normally do this in second gear, but because of this car in front of me, I'm doing it in first. It's not a race, but I just like to keep this as smooth as possible. Okay, always try and avoid hitting that, so it doesn't know. I don't skew the numbers for the parking. And we now made our way onto the roof. And thankfully, this shopping centre provides motorcycle parking right near the front door. So I can avoid all these full spots and make my way over to motorcycle parking, which I'm the first one in today. So there you have it, folks. This is my morning commute. That took me about an hour that morning. I've edited out the boring bits and left you the slightly less boring bits. But yes, that's my BMW. It's a F800ST. That's my pannier on the back, my top case, I guess you call it. And that's the car park that I have parked in. And that's it.